Welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live here Friday, May 17th, third hour every Friday. Can only be one thing. What just happened? As we look back at the insanity of the week, and we have a returning champion and two new people who have worked together for a long time. Joining us again, V Spehar, journalist, activist, best known for the TikTok account Under the Desk News, more than 3 million TikTok followers until it's banned. Good to see you, V.
Good to see you. Well, I still got it.
The clock is ticking. Get out there. And now joining us, the good liars, both of the liars are here with us. Jason Selvig and Davram Stiefler, who these guys are hilarious. They have a podcast. They're award-winning because I'm giving them an award right now, the Dean Obeidallah Comedy Award that you guys are getting this right now.
So much.
And
prestigious.
Also, allegedly, May 23rd, they're going to be in Washington, D.C. and June 6th in Nashville, which they'll plug more as part of their tour. Jason, Davram, thank you guys for being here. It's great to have you on for the first time.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So happy to be here.
So let's start with you two. You guys were outside of the court. You were doing what Democrats should be doing. On the show, the first few days of the trial, when Donald Trump brought his emotional support animals to court with him there, everyone's like, where are the Democrats? Why isn't DNC at least going out there and countering the lies and at least fact checking? Like, I don't think a Democratic member of Congress should be there, but DNC should send people and nothing. And you guys did better than the DNC. You actually confronted Lauren Boebert, not confronted her, like comically. So whoever wants to tell us, or both of you tell us, and you guys, I'm sure you have a way of speaking. You're a comedy duo. Whoever goes first, tell us what happened outside the courthouse yesterday down here in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan.
Yeah, well, I can tell from my perspective, and Jason can jump in for the real moment. But we've been down to the courthouse a handful of times. We just go there to see what's happening. People talk about how many Trump supporters are there. Usually it's between 2 and 3. But
it is Fort Knox. That's what Trump said. So it makes it harder.
Right, exactly. No,
I don't know how you got it. How did you guys get in there? I mean, it is Fort Knox. So did you have a tunnel a hole, or did you pretend you were like some kind of animal? Like,
it's so interesting because Donald Trump says he's like thousands of people want to go, but they can't figure out how to get there. So we were a little nervous. But then when you walk down there, all you have to do is walk into the park and you're directly across the street from the courthouse. And it's actually very easy. So we were really confused as to why Donald Trump was saying it was so hard to get there, because it's actually very easy.
We keep expecting to see like a roving group of thousands of Trump supporters just like making the wrong turns and not quite finding the park. And it has not happened.
Do you guys think you went on a shift change? That's why the guards weren't there? And like they're
Maybe
like,
it.
Like there's like 11. You came to 11 to 11:01. Like, look, these two got it. All right, so you guys get. So tell us, because every day on this show we've been covering some of the ridiculousness. Yesterday was really the sea level. It's Matt Gaetz is the best two they got, but they would have a press conference and say the things that Trump can't say by his gag order. It is clearly directed and coordinated by Trump. So, Davram, you want to tell us a little bit about what happened there with Lauren Boebert and what inspired you to do this specifically to her?
Well, I'm gonna hand it off to Jason very quickly because he was the one who actually got in there. But it happens fast. This is a pretty empty park, and then suddenly this group of people, as we've gotten used to seeing, many dressed very similarly, like Trump's little minions. They start coming down the street that's next to the park, and then suddenly things come alive. People start pointing. Oh, here they are! Here they come! All the camera people that are set up, they suddenly wake up. And Jason smartly kind of walks into the park area as they're gating it off, and I just kind of start filming to see what happened. But that's Jason. Jason was in there.
So Jason, why don't we have V tell us what you did? No, I'm kidding. So Jason, we'll do like the news where they talk about a community and have no one there from the community. So Jason, no. So what happened? So you guys had the idea. Tell us the Beetlejuice. Obviously, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, well, Lauren Boebert was in Denver and she saw Beetlejuice. I think we've all seen the footage. I don't need to go into the details of what happened in that film, but she was caught on tape doing some things in the dark at Beetlejuice the musical. And I actually saw Beetlejuice the musical in New York City. And I saw that she was going to be there at the park. And I was like, I think I have a playbill from this musical.
Right.
And it turned out I didn't. I had given it to my sister because we saw it together and she took it back. So we made a new playbill when I heard she was going to be there. And I was like, well, the greatest collector's item you could ever get is it from this iconic musical that is only iconic because of Lauren Boebert would be an autograph from Lauren Boebert on the playbill. So while she started her speech, or her speech, I'm putting it in quotes, or her speech as directed by Donald Trump, I went up and asked her to autograph it. And I was the security didn't think it was that funny. I thought it was funny. Security did not. Capitol Police did not think it was funny, and they kind of got me out of there pretty quickly.
Did they grab you physically, accost you, and say, "Let's go"?
Oh yeah. They did.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
I
you
have
were
a
able.
bruise on my arm, and I'm like, is that from the guy? I don't remember that happening. But
why
yeah.
is there? You're not interrupting her. You're just holding a sign up. It's First Amendment.
Yeah,
was kind of
interrupting.
interrupting.
You weren't even really interrupting, Jason. What was the deal?
I did walk in front of her giving a speech at a press conference. By definition, I think that maybe was an interruption, but she refused to sign it, which is bad for me. It's bad for my eBay account. It's bad for my collection of all this stuff we've gotten over the years. And we did a similar thing with Ted Cruz with the National Enquirer cover,
Right.
where Donald Trump had the story planned that his father was involved in the assassination of JFK. I asked Ted Cruz to sign that. He wouldn't sign it either. So it's interesting that they're not embracing some of the things that they've done, their history. You know, they always want to tear down Confederate. They're mad about tearing down Confederate statues because of history. It's like, no, this is your history. You need to embrace it. We need to not tear down our history. We need to remember it, guys, right?
Man, so the Capitol Police treated you harshly, which is it's sad. I mean, you're doing First Amendment and it's funny. I think there should be an extra First Amendment protection for anything humorous. This is just that's why I come from that world. So I can't help that. So let me bring you into this. The idea here of the good liars go down. They go to troll her. I think this is really effective, and it's better than the Democrats. Democrats are nowhere to be found, while Republicans are out there spewing lies every day. And Democrats are like, we can't, because we're going to be above this. Because I know they're trying to usher in fascism, but we're going to play by the old rules while fascism is coming to America.
No, I want more swearing from politicians. I think Kamala dropping the F-bomb this week also was like, that's the energy that we need to be bringing. So every night on TikTok, I do 6 to 7 stories of what happened during the day. And actually, you guys trying to get Lauren Boebert to sign this playbill was one of the stories, because it was so funny and clever and thoughtful. And I think there's a lot of folks who think that they're good at trolling, but this was like a masterclass in just getting a little laugh in, having a little fun, and bringing people into the conversation. And I think really exemplifying how deeply unserious a person she is, especially when she's trying to appear serious at this, clown trial. So I thought, if I taught a journalism class, I would have added this, because I think this is like expert level, public performance art in many ways. It wasn't just a stunt. It was very well done.
Oh, we're getting a lot of awards here today. This is great.
This is incredible.
Now we're getting another one. Thank you.
The first ever Dean Obeidallah, first V Spehar Under the Desk News Award. Did Lauren Boebert, did she go to any theater, any shows while she was here? Do you guys know? Was there anything?
No, I don't know. Didn't she head right back to Washington right afterwards? I feel like they did this.
We would have found out. There would have been something about her being let out and flipping off some security guards and filling a theater with vape smoke. We would have heard about it if
she had to get back to DC because someone swiped right and said yes to her. So they're going on their own. Yeah. And I think she's single. So let's talk about the trial for a second and your reaction. So V, you've been covering it every day on your show, numerous, just overall, how do you think it's going? And I don't mean from a legal point of view. I just mean do you think they're making the case? And I will say this, for what it's worth, polling before the trial, some polls had 20-30% thought this was a serious case. Now we're over 50% of Americans. So even though we can't watch it on TV, which I think would have changed everything, people are getting the sense this might actually be a crime here.
Well, what's interesting is the Davis Tremaine law firm that we're going to talk about later, who has successfully gotten a lot of these TikTok bans kicked away, including Trump's attempt to ban TikTok, failed in their petition to have this trial televised. They had really tried to get it on television, and I think it should have been. It's not so much what's happening with Trump as the aesthetic injuries that I have had to endure listening to the outrageously graphic details of Stormy Daniels' telling of her encounter with him, which are upsetting and disturbing. And for being a brief encounter, the details are many. It's very hard to report on because I have a family-friendly show, so I've had to come up with all different kinds of like little workarounds to talk
Sound
about
effects? What did you give sound
The
effects?
thing, yes, the thing that I think is the most unusual, though, is the way that it is like cast and costumed. Because when the first person to go, Trump, remember in the beginning, people weren't really going to see Trump's trial. The first person that I know of that went was David McIntosh, who is the head of the Center for Growth, which are the folks who are trying to like undo public schools. He went to show support for former President Trump. And then right after that, we saw like the rush of all of these other guys being like, oh, wait, I need to go too. And I need to dress like him. I don't know why they're all wearing the same. It's like the red tie is the new red hat or something.
It's a new brown shirt and black shirts.
Yes, there you go.
It's a cult. I mean, it's a fascist movement. That's what you dress like the leader. It's not surprising.
Right. And also it's turned into like a game show. I mean, he's a game show host and all these people seem like they're trying to win. It's like,
what do you win? They build a gallows in your honor? I mean, if you get to be his VP, I mean, what do you win? This is unbelievable. What we're living through when you take a step back, we are literally dealing with a fascist movement on U.S. soil. I just had an expert who wrote a book on fascism. It's not like me being hyperbolic. It's literally checked all the boxes for a fascist movement. And Americans like, yeah, well, that's,
what's concerning about the fascist movement thing is like we see it in Trump, but we're also seeing it in leftist movements as well. A lot of the tenets of fascism and this like follow the leader and wanting a strong man, while the Democrats and the neolibs aren't really showing up to combat any of this, we're seeing leftists sort of cannibalize their own followers on TikTok or on their social channels. No, there's all these purity tests for like how far left you can be. And I just think it's imitating, they're calling it like blue MAGA in some ways. Like they're imitating a lot.
MAGA? Where's this?
TikTok.
See, I don't go to, I have 180 followers
the
on
scourge
TikTok,
of America, TikTok. Yeah.
Blue MAGA.
There's these movements where folks are, just very much trying to be MAGA, but leftist. And I think it's concerning to see it sort of spill over into the way that other people behave who aren't in the MAGA cult.
I will tell you. So, Davram and Jason, I think, first of all, I'm excited at the idea of a left-wing demagogue coming to power because I warn people on the right.
I'm going to do it.
I warn people on the right. Like, you don't get it, folks. If you don't think a left-wing demagogue can rise up from the ashes and be like Trump, but do it on policies that people on the left like, then all of a sudden,
they'd never pass the purity test. They'd never pass the purity
test.
Even
the left-wing demagogue would not?
The leftist demagogue will never pass. They like will have forgotten some small minor detail of history, and that'll be it for them. They'll be on the block party cancel list.
I don't know who's doing who's the police, who's the purity police, who's self-appointed themselves the purity police. That's the question I have.
18 to 24-year-old TikTokers.
But that's the thing with Trump is like his superpower is he has no shame, so he can go out and do whatever he wants. His supporters, that's a plus for the supporters. They're like, oh, finally a guy who he doesn't care about anything. And he's going to say the things on my mind. And he could say something stupid, but guess what? I say something stupid all the time. And there is an appeal to that. It's like it's probably something you fantasized about when you were in college or whenever, before we saw this actually happen. What if we had a leader who was like a Daily Show host or whatever from the left who came and just would say the thing that nobody else would say, and it would be so appealing. We'd love it. And that's what we see when we talk to these Trump supporters going out to the rallies. Like, you could point to the policy positions and the flip-flopping and the just terrible things he's done, but at the end of it, it really is, like you say, cult of personality. It is a cult of personality. And they think it's a cult of personality and they embrace it. They're not looking at it like this is a bad thing. They're looking at it like this is great that we finally found our guy.
There was a time where we would try and point out hypocrisy and think that would somehow, get someone to be introspective for a second, maybe change their mind. But to Jason's point, at the end of the day, if someone contradicts themselves, more often than not, it's like, well, still voting for him. And almost whatever you said, whatever you pointed out is almost like a positive. I love that he'll change his mind.
I love the calling it hypocrisy, like it's going to move them. That's just adorable.
Right.
Because it's a religion. It's a religion. And they also have loyalty pledges and purity tests to pass. I mean, Trump is actually making people sign loyalty pledges. So it makes them feel like they're in a military or a community or they're seen. And that is what's hard to beat.
I'm going to ask SiriusXM if they can put in the contract a loyalty pledge to my show, not just like you have to pay like $4 or $7 a month plus loyalty pledge. So I'm chatting with V Spehar and the award-winning comedy duo, The Good Liars. So Good Liars, let me ask you guys this, Jason and Davram. If Donald Trump is convicted and goes to jail, you're going to go to prison to visit?
Well, I don't know how that's going to work. You know, we did go to the trial. We went to the trial last Tuesday.
In the courtroom? You got in?
We were in the overflow room. We
Okay.
got there pretty early, like at 5 a.m. or something like that, being like, oh, we're definitely getting in the courtroom. Only 6 people got in the courtroom from the general public.
Wow.
We did get to the overflow room. It was the day after Documents Day, where all the reporters we talked to that we knew, like, were like, oh, this was the most boring day. It's probably going to be documents again today. Then we found out while we were waiting there that it was going to be Stormy Daniels. And so, like, we were there for the first day of Stormy Daniels, and to see her on the stand and actually hear her talk about it, I believed her. Like, I believed the story of it, of what happened in Lake Tahoe. So to answer your question about going to prison, like, we went to the courthouse. Yeah, maybe sure we'll go to prison. We'll visit him in prison.
Like the good life.
I'm going to get a job as a corrections officer
Yeah.
for which to have extra access. Yeah.
How does that work? Would you have to put us on the list?
I think it's like
sit across
Saturday
the
Night Live.
glass?
It's hard. You have to, maybe there's a lottery. It's kind of hard. I mean, look, he'd have to put you on a list. You just can't show up. They'd have to go in. They're like, Mr. Trump, the good liars are here to see you.
Well,
And he might
maybe
be like,
maybe he likes us. One time we met someone who worked for Ted Cruz, who said, "We love your videos." And we
Wow.
were like, "Does Ted Cruz love our videos?" And they're like, "I don't think so."
we hate
but
our boss. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
We hate our
Right.
boss. That's the way
Right.
of saying it. Like, if he goes to court, I've vowed to go to, if he goes to prison, to try to visit him in prison with the show. I
Let us
SiriusXM.
know.
Like, maybe he'll never do an interview, but you know, Sean Hannity's on SiriusXM. I mean, it's a simulcast, but same
Do you
channel.
guys actually think he's going to get convicted? Because I don't think he will. Just because, like, learning from the when they were telling about, like, the interest and so on of the jurors, one of the jurors said that they got their news or their social media platform of choice was Truth Social, and to me, that's it. Like, that's the trial, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's
Hung jury.
you're gonna
Mistrial.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. So I don't know that it would be a good thing for him. Like, I don't know if it'd be a good thing for Democrats if he's convicted either. Like, I don't know. Because I just don't know.
But you
It's like
can
you make-
imagine them deliberating, and it's everyone sitting around a table and one person saying, "This is a witch hunt." See?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Truth Social.
Yeah.
They put their MAGA hat on. Like, it's,
Yeah.
at that point, why not? Well, look, here's the thing, Jason, to that point about what would Democrats do? If Donald Trump is a convicted felon, Democrats will still sit around a room going, should we talk about that? It's on appeal. I don't think it's fair.
Right.
You know,
right.
that's the worst part of all. Like, if he's a convicted felon, should Democrats make his first name convicted felon Trump? I mean, if he's convicted by a jury, it's fair. Like, until the conviction, I get it. Democrats want to be above board. And, you know, they don't want to make it seem like Joe Biden did this, which doesn't matter because that's what they're saying anyway. So just lean into it. Yeah, we did this. What are you going to do about it?
I think that one of the things that I love is when he had an inmate number and everyone for a short period of time on the internet was just calling him by his inmate number.
Right.
And I think that would be fun again. And I would love that. You know, just for funsies. 24601. Make a musical
246
about it.
from Les Miserables.
Love
Yeah,
That's him.
Love
He's
that.
going to sing a song.
But he
so-
would sell so many
He'll be
tickets
a
for
martyr.
one.
He would. He'll be a martyr to them no matter what. And so
Yeah.
in some ways I'm like, you know, I don't care that much if he goes to jail because he'll be a martyr to them no matter what. If anything, the side benefit could be that Republicans might actually want to investigate justice reform and see if we could do something about the conditions in prisons if there are boys in there, but maybe not. Maybe that's just wishful thinking.
Yeah.
What prison gang does he join? I mean, that's the question I want to know. That's really important. I've talked about the Orange Brotherhood being big, perhaps, but he would be selling everything from prison, you know, buy the Trump orange jumpsuit. He'll
Yep.
be bragging that his prison's now the best prison in America. Before he got there, terrible
Where would
prison,
they put him?
worst prison.
Rikers? Would he
No,
jurisdiction wise,
no.
he'd be Rikers, but I don't think they would send him. I don't
Look,
think
if they give
could.
him years, if they gave him, like, if they put Alan Weisselberg as CFO, this 70-plus-year-old man in Rikers, he got a few-month prison sentence. If Trump was convicted of 34 felonies, it would be unfair if he didn't get some level of incarceration. He's had served house arrest, you know, with an ankle bracelet. It's hard to say, but it would be unfair. I don't know. Again, we don't know. We're going to find out. So let's pivot to something you guys cover a lot, which is rallies. And he had his rally at Wildwood. And for some reason, I have no idea what happened there, but they wanted to make this sound like the hugest rally. It went from 50,000 to 80,000 to bigger than Bruce to 1 million. Like everyone in New Jersey was there. Like it just keeps growing. Like if you were in the state of New Jersey at the time you were counted as being at the rally, this is where you are. So you guys have been to rallies. So tell us, we'll start with you, Jason, go to Davram. Is there less intensity? Is it more intensity? Is it same size? Like what do you see this year when you've gone to certain events for Trump?
I don't know that this is a helpful talking point for Democrats, talking about the rally sizes and kind of poking fun at him about it. I understand trying to get under his skin about the size of things since the inauguration and the blatant lies from that. But we've gone to a couple rallies this year, and maybe more than a couple. They're huge. They're huge. People line up. They're huge. They're bigger than they were before. They like we went to one in outside Allentown, Pennsylvania. We got there. We thought, oh man, the weather is really bad. It's really, really cold, windy, rainy. Maybe there won't be as many people here. There was a line that was snaking all the way around the parking lot. Like tens of thousands of people were there. So he is hugely popular. I would say he's even more popular than he was, in 2020, 2019. Like he draws a crowd, and it's not just a crowd of people who are there to see a political rally. They're fans. They're loyalists. They love Donald Trump. Almost, 99% of the people are wearing a MAGA hat or a shirt that they bought there with some crude saying on it. Like they love Donald Trump. This has not gone away. And to argue over if it was 60,000 versus 100,000, it's like, this is just the status quo that Donald Trump lies about things big and small all the time. Sure. So whatever. I like to even give that airtime. It's like, it's bigger than Joe Biden's drawing. Like that's the honest truth. Like it's by 1,000 times probably, he is bringing in 60 to 70,000 people at some of these events.
So you're saying, Jason, we really have to rig the election to Democrats to win. I mean, 2020 we did a little bit, but this one's even more
said
rigging.
it right there.
And you got to do it. I mean, come on.
I thought that was the whole plan. According to our sources we talked to at these rallies, that's the whole plan of the Democrats to begin with. That's what happened in 2020.
So Davram, what Jason just described is deeply concerning because I was living in the delusion. So are you seeing the same thing? Is it bigger crowds this time?
Well, we're usually standing right next to each other, so I'm seeing the exact same
Damn
thing.
I want you to counter him going I don't know what he's saying.
No, we're usually standing about 3 feet away from each other. We go in there, we go early, and we realized we needed to go a few hours early, partly because we want plenty of time to walk around, to see what's going on, to film with people, but partly because if you wait till just a couple hours before you're speaking, you might not get in time. The line of cars is going to be so long, and the line of people, and some of these things are you're parking in this huge field, and then they've got other fields once that fills up, and you have to go and you have to walk a long way to do it. So you have to get there early because of the sheer number of people. I did see something though about the New Jersey rally, that there was a picture of Rio de Janeiro and a concert there.
That was Roger Stone.
How many people showed up? So there is some exaggerating going on. You could tell by the beaches and the mountains and all that. So
the statue of Jesus or whatever, the
Redeemer.
It was everyone was dressed up for Mardi Gras.
Wildwood, New Jersey's never looked so
Trump.
good.
You didn't realize that was Trump.
V, is this concerning to you as it is to me? Because I didn't know.
It is and it isn't, because I wonder if it translates to actually showing up to the polls and voting. And I think that largely it will. But in talking to my dad about Trump rallies, which he does not attend, but his friends do, he's like, I don't know, they treat it like a Jimmy Buffett concert. You got to understand our generation. We used to always, tailgate, go down, see everybody. Think about football games, right? What are we doing? We're always in the parking lot, hanging out, seeing everybody. For them, it's about the cult of Donald Trump and personality, but it is about the community that they've built of being a patriot, that they are visiting and that they are getting energy from, and that they are finding community in. And it's also something that habitually boomers and the folks that tend to support him do. They're tailgaters, they're hanger-outers, they are showing off their cool trucks and their weird displays of wealth and whatnot. And I think in that way, it makes them feel cool and smart and relevant, and it's familiar. And that's why we're seeing so many people at this type of experience.
You're so right,
Jason,
that it's a tailgate.
There you go, Jason.
It's a tailgate.
It's like people with, it's like coolers. It's people with those fold out chairs that have gotten there extra early. And a third of the people are kind of drunk. So if we are talking about
Kind
showing
of.
up to the
I
polls.
It's a
mean,
party.
yeah.
It's a party.
It-
That's
Oh.
why
Yeah.
when we see people saying, oh, people were leaving after him speaking for 30 minutes, it's because it's about him as the figure, but it's about the community and it's about the tailgate. And that was like how my dad explained it to me. And that kind of made me feel a little bit better because I was like, maybe this doesn't translate to voting. Maybe it does. I'm sure it does in some ways, but I think it's not that these people believe every word he's saying as like law and policy, but they love the community of it. These are the song lyrics that they know. These are the tunes that they come to see, and they all want to show off like who knows it better. And I think that is something that maybe he has done masterfully.
I'm just
they're like,
writing down.
oh, he's about to play Build the Wall. He's playing Build the Wall. I know
Right.
this one. Let's
And they
do
go
it.
crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just writing a note to myself to get my backup passport for another country ready.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, you
this is
haven't,
really
you haven't gotten that in order yet?
This
Oh,
is
you
really
were way
alarming
behind.
because
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
behind the eight
I've
ball
had
there.
on people who are like, he's not drawing the same size crowd. The intensity's
Yeah.
gone, and you guys are like, it's bigger and it's worse.
I
So
have people apologize to me because they're like, V, I love you. And like, I really love gay people and stuff. But like, I also love to, I just love to go down, have some fun, joke around. Oh, liberal tears. It's all in fun. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's
it?
well, we can
We
watch
just go and go to the gallows and
There's-
watch them hang because it's a fun.
They
It's something
don't-
to do. We can tailgate
and that
before
is
it. Yeah.
historically accurate as well,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Look at the horrible things that we've done in our past. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about my favorite new football player, Harrison Butker, and a lot more. We got a lot more to cover. Samuel Alito flying his flag upside down, and he blames someone for it, not himself. So let's take a break. Be back with more of the Dean Obeidallah Show right after this. Ready? We come right back. And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show. It is still Friday, May 17th, and the award-winning Good Liars have remained, as well as our friends V Spehar. So let's talk about this backlash to the Kansas City Chiefs kicker, Harrison Butker, just keeps growing. Like at first, I saw an article maybe Monday. He spoke at the college, it's Catholic college, and they invited him because he's conservative, Benedictine college.
That's
And-
not why they invited him, Dean. I'm going to stop you there. Do you want to know why they invited him?
Why? Because he won the football?
No, the president of Benedictine is on the payroll at Harrison Butker's company that he owns.
No, I didn't know that.
Yes. The president of Benedictine has a little vanity job at Harrison Butker's MD Keller hedge fund that he runs.
Whoa.
I didn't know that. All right, so
That's
we got extra.
interesting.
Thank you, V
That's
Spehar, for
new.
that reporting. So we've got extra stuff. So, and he goes there, and the speech, he denounces abortion rights. He calls Pride Month a deadly sin. He slams COVID-19 lockdowns, which I thought were done, but maybe where he lives, they're still going on. The tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I like the word he used, tyranny. And then at one point he said women, and then he leaned in like a Backstreet Boy. Girl, I'm talking to you. And he's
He
like,
did.
he said, if you're sitting here, the diabolical lies told to you about getting a job and promotions and titles. And he said the most important title is homemaker. And again, Rick Santorum, to be honest, in 2012 said similar things about women should celebrate working at home and stuff. But I thought that was kind of done. We're here 12 years later, and here's a 27-year-old football player, 28-year-old football player saying this. And the weird thing is he said homemaker, and the crowd cheered. It wasn't like anyone booed. It wasn't like, oh, you suck. They're like, finally, finally what we were thinking. So V, you've covered this a lot on your show. Let's start with you.
I think that Harrison Butker probably has a lot of latent feelings about his mother being the breadwinner in that family.
Oh,
As far as I could find, and I went deep, his daddy also has a little vanity job at Harrison's business. So his mother, Dr. Butker, who is
Oh.
like an incredible scientist, probably just wasn't around enough to be that homemaker that makes bagel bites for the boys, after football practice and rubs his feet. And his sister similarly wasn't there to be the homemaker, as she is a up and coming iconic OBGYN, no less.
Wow.
So this is a man who comes from a matriarchal family, Catholic or not, and who obviously has some sort of therapy he needs to attend about strong females in his life. And I just think it was the strangest thing I ever saw, and I think plays into the fact that some men hate women and reserve all of their love and adoration for men. And I think that his might just be connected to some potential mommy issues. But that's just me diagnosing
Very
from over
interesting.
here.
So Jason, Doesn't Harrison Butker sound like a name from like a Chevy Chase movie from like the 80s or 90s? Like
He's one of Fletch's identities.
Exactly. Like, what's your name?
Exactly.
Harrison
I'm a
Butker.
kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's it. Yeah,
That's what, you know, Patrick Mahomes, they interviewed Patrick Mahomes on some podcast, and he said, I didn't talk to him all year. So now this is out there. They don't even want to engage. Like, I don't even want to talk about this. Laura Ingraham, who told LeBron James to shut up and dribble, is praising Harrison Butker for saying things. But I mean, where in this world where younger, I imagine the things that we dismiss in America is that we think this mindset is something only people in their 60s or 70s or 80s have, when there's people in their 20s and some graduating college who cheer this. And that's what's eye-opening in a way.
Yeah, and I also think it's interesting, Laura Ingraham, she told LeBron James, arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. I don't want to get into the Jordan MJ thing here, but what the greatest living basketball player
MJ
still playing
6-0
basketball
in finals.
Okay,
Jason.
we're not doing it. We're not doing it.
Here we go. It's a whole
arguably, okay, definitely a top 5 NBA player of all time. We can say that. She said to him, "Shut up and dribble." LeBron James, most famous basketball player in the world right now. And she praises a kicker whose name I did not know or had not heard until this week because of this story, which kind of tells you like everything you need to know about it. Because if you think about it, like, what's the difference between those two people besides their professions? I don't know. You could probably figure it out. Where
they both had beards at the time too.
Okay, interesting. Okay,
different sport. I'm not sure. I'm not
sure.
sure.
The ball is a totally different shape.
That's it. It's a different shape football. She would have said like, "Shut up and kick." To him.
Yeah, no, exactly. But that's the other funny thing about this. He's a kicker. He's the kicker. And this is also in college sports, the position where a lot of women are now playing. Like they're in Division I. There's been women who have been place kickers. So maybe he's worried about losing his own job or something like that. There's a little bit, definitely felt like there's some insecurity there.
So, Jason, maybe this is much more personal about him. He's like, and don't be a kicker. Be a homemaker.
Don't take my job.
Exactly.
Look, he's worried about his job here. Yeah.
That's all it is.
I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there that want their spouse to be able to be a homemaker, but that's just not the way that the economics work out for us in the world. So not only did he offend all of the women who were in that audience, but the majority of NFL spectators don't have the ability to provide in a way that allows us to have this like traditional one parent stays at home thing. He was saying that he wishes it was the 1950s or 60s, and I have to agree because a man of his age would have been drafted and we wouldn't have had to deal with this at all anyway. You want to go back to a time when men didn't have choice either, Butker, and you would just be like shipped off to a war somewhere? Like it wouldn't be all kicking field goals and $1 million salaries.
It's also just such an incredible moment to pick to say those things, speaking to a group of people who have just presumably learned skills that will help them in the world to earn money to get, I forget exactly how he phrased it, titles and promotions and all those sorts of things.
That's what he said, titles, promotions.
That's the group of people that are graduating that have just learned those things, and to say that is like, part of a diabolical lie. It's like telling a group of people who just got their driver's licenses that cars are the devil. Yeah. It's like we just did this. We just went to school to learn to do these things. And it reminded me of a time where Jason and I went to a rally where Ted Nugent was going to sing. And awesome. We had a stunt
name
where
dropper.
Pretty cool, right? I from the audience said, "Shut up and strum," and stick to music. And they got pretty mad. Ted Nugent said, I think he was gonna skin me alive at his bear camp or some weird.
Did he really say that? That
reference.
really happened? You really? Shut up and strum.
Right.
Shut up and strum. So, by the way, I think it's interesting. The NFL has also distanced themselves, so they're trying to attract. They have Taylor Swift, and then. Dating another Kansas City Chief, which is kind of interesting that they're on the same team. And now this is happening. They're like, this is not helpful to us. I wonder when the Kansas City Chiefs play in like blue states, even in red states, but they're major cities, they're kind of liberal. And he comes on the field and people are going to boo or they're going to throw aprons at him, like homemaker stuff. Like, why don't you become a homemaker, Harrison Butker?
He would love that. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? To bear the cross of his
Yeah.
religion,
Totally.
to finally have these people have a persecution kink. This man is definitely like going to be all about this and super hyped up about the fact that like because he's a Catholic, he's persecuted. Like they create opportunities to be ridiculed and to be held accountable for the horrible things they do so that they can justify the fact that they believe they're persecuted. He's going to love it.
Wow.
Yeah, he's punched his meal ticket here. He's going to be speaking
yeah.
to Charlie Kirk at all of his events,
yeah.
and they're going to be like, he's the hero, he's the hero. But I hope the reaction is not just like the booing, and it's less booing and more hooing, being like, who is this guy again?
Yeah,
Oh, it's the
exactly.
kicker.
Great
Who
call.
cares? Who
Right.
cares about
Who
this
cares?
guy? No one cared about him before. He doesn't
I wish
matter.
him-
You could cut him and it wouldn't matter. It
I
wouldn't
I wish him
matter.
nothing but slippery grass and,
Yeah.
and wide rights.
I wish they would interview his wife because he's married and he's got kids and see what she says. Like, you know, I had dreams too, and he won't let me leave the house. Like, is there something going on? Like, I didn't want to be a homemaker. I'm a hostage, not a homemaker here. I'm surprised.
But
he
She's
didn't-
got that $1 million salary. She's like, you know what? This is she's in the Melania Trump school of wifery, right? She's
Well,
like, you know what?
So why didn't Harrison add that? Like, and young ladies, well, I got your attention. Find an older man with orange
Yeah.
hair
Oh,
and
I'm
marry
sure.
him. Especially if it's his
Sure.
second or third marriage. It's perfect
Yeah.
time for you. You can have just one kid, and then you can just live the life you've always dreamed of. Right? Who's with me, ladies?
Right.
Andy
He should have
Reid
been
should-
offering to support them. He should have said, and because of this, I offer you X amount of money every year forever. I want
Yes.
you to be able to stay home. I want
Andy-
your reality, my wife's reality, to be yours.
Andy Reid should just call a bunch of fake punts all year and just like have him get wrecked by the defense.
No one's
every
going to
single
block. Yeah, I
time.
wonder if
Yeah.
some of the guys on the offensive line, like, I'm not blocking for this jackass.
Yeah.
Get in there.
The laces are going to be in on every kick.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
laces out.
Depending on depending on the views of whoever the holder is.
That's funny
They've
stuff.
won enough. They've got plenty of rings. This is the Buffalo Bills year, maybe, if we could get any advantage on the Chiefs.
I'm not rooting for a home wrecking. I'm for homemaking, but home wreck. But it would be so great if it turns out he's having an affair with one of the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders. Like
Well-
he's out there, or
well-
a doctor, or like so even a woman who's like a really professional, like who gives her works all day. She's like a hedge fund person.
Why
and he's
does it
having an
have to be
affair
a
with her.
woman? There was a rumor that he may have had some recreational activities with the Georgia Tech cheerleader when he was at Georgia. This is coming deep from the gay community. So I don't know. I hope he gets to be his true self. 'Cause
Whatever
he
it
was
is.
born this way.
Well, we're going to find out. I think it's going to be interesting when football season comes around
Yeah.
and he's out there and he takes the field and the people cheer. And in Kansas City, they're probably going to cheer. It's a red state. It's Missouri. We'll see. So let's shift gears here. Speaking of, we learned today that Justice Samuel Alito, who just makes Clarence Thomas look almost better. That's the only thing he does at times. That after January 6th, there's a photo. New York Times. I don't know why they ran the story now, but they probably just got confirmation. Someone showed pictures at his residence of the flag upside down, like the flag in distress. And according to the New York Times, that was sort of an example of the Stop the Steal movement. A lot of Stop the Steal people, because I didn't know what they were doing, but they were doing the same thing. And then Alito responds to the New York Times saying, "It wasn't me. It was briefly placed there by Mrs. Alito in response to a neighbor's use of objectionable and personally insulting language." But why did he call her Mrs. Alito is the other thing too. I guess he didn't want to say my wife because then we would have been like, does she have no name? But her name is your name. So she's Mrs. Alito. And Harrison Butker, I think Butker's very happy because she lives at home and just changes the flag. So
Right.
what do you think? B, what about this?
But she's not doing a good job at changing the flag.
Well, she's just a silly woman. This is why we shouldn't be allowing women to vote. They can't be trusted with the activities of patriotism and civics. I mean, she didn't even know which way the flag was supposed to go.
No, she did intentionally. That's the thing. Like he's confirming, and the reporting was a neighbor called her or someone the C word, and then her idea of responding, I'm not kidding, that's what they're saying, was to put the flag under the stress and fly it outside of the Supreme Court justice's house. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, why in that house would you get, like, even if you had a dispute with your neighbor and they're using foul language, like, you know what? I'm going to put the flag under distress. The whole nation, because of this, the whole nation's in distress. Not for, like, if you did it in response to January 6th, that could be defensible. Like, I think the nation was under distress and I was standing with America over that, but that's not what was going on. This was some kind of pro-January 6th
I'm
bullshit.
surprised he didn't jump in and blame Ginny Thomas. Like that would have made so much more sense. She came over here and she turn the flag upside down. Then you don't have to throw anyone else under the bus. We already know how she feels about things. But
he would have said, instead of Mrs. Alito, Mrs. Thomas. I'm surprised he didn't blame a liberal justice's wife.
Or just Antifa. What happened to just blaming Antifa?
FBI.
Antifa
that
did
is.
Yeah,
Maybe his wife is Antifa. Did that ever occur to you? Wow.
Maybe he didn't put her first name. Maybe her first name is Antifa Alito. Like, we don't even know it. He says Mrs. Alito. I think it's weird he didn't put her. I think it's such a weird way. It was briefly placed by Mrs. Alito. So first of all, you're like Bob Menendez. You're blaming your wife. So that's not a left-right
so
thing.
gross.
That's just a guy thing. It was like, I'm in trouble. It was her. Like, are you a child? Take responsibility. Like, I flew the flag there because I support January 6th. What are you going to do about it? I have a lifetime appointment, Supreme Court. Like, I would like throw it in our face, and we'd all be like, yeah, we can't even impeach him because the House is Republican, so we can't do anything about it. And so, should he serve on any January 6th cases? I think this could have been leaked, and Fox News was sort of got onto this. This is curious timing. I think it's about the immunity case for Donald Trump, and I think someone flagged this now to say, like, he shouldn't be allowed to be on that case. But after what Thomas has done, does it matter? I mean, Jason, if Thomas can stay, shouldn't Alito stay, or should both not be allowed to work on January 6 cases because Mrs. Thomas was very involved in the attempted coup?
Well, I think for him, definitely. For Thomas, yes, just because of all of the emails and everything that we saw that came out from her. But this case is so weird. It's so weird. I like seeing the push notification for this yesterday, being like, this happened on, was it January 17th or something like that?
2021.
2021. Why is this coming out now? And why would you do that in support of January 6th on that day? You know, about what was happening with the country? It just seems very bizarre to me. So I want to know more. I want to know. Oh, I think we should talk to his wife, find out
Alito?
what she was thinking.
Please call her,
I want to know
Mrs.
exactly
Alito.
what the neighbor said.
Right.
And if the neighbor said like something, I bet you won't put the flag upside down on the flag. And she just did it to get back at them after being called a terrible word. Hey, maybe that's defensible. I don't know. But I don't, it just seems odd that it would be like, this is going to be a statement from a Supreme Court justice so many days after January 6th. It doesn't seem like it's connected, thinking to the top of my intelligence right now.
I hate that you're using the top of your intelligence, Jason.
Yeah.
Davram, did you want to add something? Please go lower. Use not as much intelligence.
I'm sorry.
We're a liberal show. We're just trying to peddle
apologize.
stuff we're going to cut all of this out. No one's going to hear or listen to this. No, Davram, what is your take on it? Do you think Jason makes an interesting point? I think it's a fair point that it's kind of weird. It wasn't before January 6th, like 3 weeks later, to put it up. That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm trying to use less than the top of my intelligence.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I don't know. I think we already nailed something when we said maybe she was just failing in her homemaking abilities. She was supposed to get up early. She was supposed to put up the flag. It's her one job. So it's Mrs. Alito's one job. And I don't know if she was burning something on the stove at the same time, and she had to hurry, and the flag
pineapple upside down cake on the
upside
same day. Everything was screwed up. She was doing a lot of upside down theme.
And she was hosting a Tupperware party at the same,
and that was upside down. So you open it that way, right? Exactly. So it was a theme. It wasn't about the flag. It wasn't a statement.
I think you're reading your commencement speech that you're scheduled to give later this weekend.
Yes, please do not air that portion. I don't want it to seem like I'm going back into my bag here.
I got to ask V, as a journalist, you're a journalist, V. If it's ever taken you 3 years to fact check a story like the New York Times did with this one? Because this is 3 years later, 3.5 years later. Maybe Magda Abrams I don't think we can run it yet. Are you sure that's a picture of that house? Let's go back. Wait, Michael Cohen's texting me right now as we learned that Michael Cohen
couldn't. The New York Times is just so busy being transphobic. They didn't have time to fact check this article. Okay. We all have priorities, and that is theirs. I've in the meanwhile, I was trying to look up, because I'm a visual person, as we were talking about Mrs. Alito. I was like, I wonder what she looks like. I cannot find a picture of this woman where she's not crying. If you Google Mrs. Alito, the first 4 pictures are of her crying at his confirmation. I don't know if they were being mean to him or something, or maybe she was distressed by the flags being all right way up or something. But I think it's a long-standing issue.
Maybe she burned something on the stove earlier that day.
Yeah, she forgot the ranch dressing for table 22. But
the last picture you saw of her is when he was confirmed. That's decades ago.
when you Google like Mrs. Alito images on Google, like the first ones that come up are just like her kind of crying. She has been pretty good at hiding like more recent photos of herself. Maybe she just hasn't taken as many. But yeah, she's just that was what just distracted me in my
That's very
ADHD.
interesting.
Looking at
Like,
pictures and wondering why she's crying.
I have no mental picture of Chief Justice Roberts' spouse or anyone else's
No.
spouses. That's the
Nope.
kind of thing. Look, it's not a fun job. All right, so here's fun. Tom Brady roast. Did anyone watch a Tom Brady roast or see clips of it? You
I
watched
saw
it, Jason?
clips.
Awesome.
I saw
watched
clips.
it. I watched
Did
it. I watched
you
it. I
watched the
didn't
whole
finish
thing?
it.
I saw some
Well, I
of
was
it.
watching it live. I watched like the first hour and a half, but it was like 2.5 hours.
That's
I-
too
I-
long. That's self-indulgent for a roast. I mean, that's how much insults can you take? Would you agree to be roasted
No.
Uh,
God, no.
publicly,
No.
like a TV roast, like the Good Liars roast on Netflix, and then people come up, Amy Schumer, a lot of just people, Mrs. Alito starts coming saying stuff with Trump supporters that you interviewed that
I
mock. They come up to mock you.
I
Jason
don't know.
Davram, would you-
Kelsey, Travis Kelsey's brother, I think, put it well. I forget where I saw this, where he was like, "It's I would never agree to do this. It's just a bunch of people saying that your family's in shambles. Ha ha ha! How funny is this?" It's like a couple hours of like, the meaner the better. And I'm sure you get a few good moments out of it, but it's not shocking for him to then say, "Actually, this was kind of hard on my former wives and kids." They actually
Yeah.
didn't love it. It's like, yeah, no shit.
And how did they know that? They were going to, of course, it was ripe for comedy. His wife is famous, Giselle, his ex-wife, and that you were going to talk about that. And he said, the jokes were about me. I thought it was so fun. But when it affected my kids, it was bittersweet. And how you would not know that. But he said, in some ways, it makes me a better parent. So doing a roast might make you a better parent, folks, just so you know that.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
what he
It's
literally
going to
said.
be your first parenting class. Just tear you down emotionally
Yeah.
and destroy you
Have people mock
and insult
everything.
your family publicly and maybe ruin some of your kids' lives at the same time. And then you'll become a better parent.
Then
Like,
you
now he's gonna
become
help his
a
kids.
much
I did
better
the
That-
worst thing I could have done. I can't get any worse than this.
Right.
Right.
Now
It's
he's gonna help his
uphill
kids
from
with their-
there.
He's finally going to help their kids with their math homework. He's like, now I'm going to sit
No.
down and help you.
Yes.
So that kind of thing. All right, we only got a few minutes left, and I want to give everyone a chance to plug all the work that you're doing so people can follow you. V, where can people? You're still on TikTok. I think it's going to stick
For now.
around.
It's
But,
sticking around. It's not going anywhere.
I know.
Yes.
So where can people find Under the Desk News and your platform and all your work?
Yep. So I'm Under the Desk News on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and all that business. And I have a new podcast called American Fever Dream. You can listen to it for free wherever you listen to your podcasts. It's through the Betches Network. And we take a look at all the most absurd things that happen that week, try to have some fun with it, make some sense of it. American Fever Dream.
American Fever, great. Jason Davram, you guys are on tour. Not only do you have a podcast, please tell people about it, but also your tour dates. And I'd recommend the accurate dates if you're going to share it with people.
Yeah, I messed those up in the email. We have a podcast called The Good Liars Tell the Truth. You can get that wherever you get your podcasts. It's also on our YouTube. And we've got a live show coming up in several different cities called The Good Liars Fix America. We're going to solve all of America's problems, number one. And number two, we're going to show some videos never before seen, interviews, as well as a couple pranks on some politicians that have never been seen before. And we're going to be in Washington, D.C. on May 23rd, Nashville, Tennessee on June 6th, Los Angeles, California, June 25th, and San Francisco, California on June 26th. You can get the tickets at goodliars.com.
And I was going to ask you, Davram,
Mm.
what do you guys do in the show? So it's showing some clips. Do you interview people in the audience at all? Or do you do any jokes on stage, you guys?
Well, what we do is something that's really, really important, and that's why people need to show up to the show. That's that we fix America. We picked some divisive issues. We realized that, we've been on the road. We've been interviewing people. We've been doing this for many years. And when you think about it, it's research. We know more about this than almost anybody. And so if you show up to one of these shows, we're going to fix America. And that's, I guess, why you would want to be there, why you'd want to be part of it. You don't want to say you missed the day America was fixed.
Right.
So
and these
you
are
guys
divisive issues like guns and abortion and Ted Cruz. These are issues affecting all of us that
So
we
it's not just
solve.
comedy. You're conflict resolution people. This is what you guys do. You're out there.
I don't think
Solve
it's
it.
comedy at all.
I've seen some reviews.
Yeah,
That's right.
They fixed America. I just didn't laugh. No, it's very
Yeah.
funny. You guys are great. All three of you. Thank you so much for being on the Jason Davram. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Best of luck with the tour. And V, we're going to be rooting for TikTok not to go anywhere. We'll take a break. Be back with more of the show after this.